Okay, could you tell us your name, the school you attend, and where you are along your legal education?
Okay, sure. My name is Megan Day. I am at the University of Texas in Austin, and I am a 1L, so I've just finished my first semester of law school.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Very exciting.
As I saw you asking questions, I wondered, right, how your perspective on migration has changed since you started the program on Friday.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's really hard to even start. I feel like I've just learned so much and things have changed drastically. So I grew up in the United States, lived my entire life in the United States, and I've always studied there. I really have only the perspective of my home country. I've lived in Indiana and Texas. So my experience really was limited to the immigrant communities I knew either in Indianapolis or briefly in Austin. And I think a lot of US folks don't quite understand the process of either people who have arrived in the United States, what happened before, and then even what might happen after they're forced to leave. I think many of us think that deportation especially is kind of the end, but there's so much more that can happen after deportation, or even after someone leaves the country, or migration itself is much more complicated. I think the United States, we often think about immigration, and the perspective here in Mexico, and what we've been talking about really is more about migration. That can be from within various states in Mexico. It can be from Central America to Mexico, perhaps get to the United States, or maybe staying in Mexico. So just knowing that things are so much more complicated and that a lot of these issues also intersect with so many other things. We've got education and gender, race, healthcare, sexual orientation, gender identity, so many things that really impact immigration and migration generally that I just kind of hadn't thought about as much, or just wanting to learn more about from here.
And Megan, so we met government officials, nonprofit folk, shelter folk, we met migrants, refugees themselves in different contexts, people from the US who followed their deported spouses. You talked to a lot of people. Who was the speaker that impressed you the most, or what was your favorite part of the experience?
Yeah, that's a very hard question because I want to say everybody, but I really enjoyed hearing from folks who had been deported, as well as Nicole, who also followed her spouse here because her husband was deported. I think that, like I said, I think that people in the United States don't really think about life after deportation. I really enjoyed meeting Robert and the homies at GDL SUR. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but they're wonderful folks, and just anyone that I can talk with and who are really able to kind of change my perspective on things. I think that experience was especially impactful because, especially with Robert and his group, there are folks who really don't have a voice, especially in the United States. Even in Mexico, it sounds like they're kind of forgotten. And I think that being able to hear from them, see a community that really built within itself. Robert saw a need and fulfilled that need and kind of created his own little family and is really working his hardest to meet the needs when no one else really is doing that for them. I think that was something that was so powerful and really just eye-opening for me.
You're right at the beginning of your legal education, and I was thinking to myself and wondering, you think of one or two ways this experience might help either in your law school career and then after as a practicing attorney?
Absolutely. I think as far as law school career, the legal education, especially in 1L, is very focused on kind of the basics of the law, and so far I don't feel like I've had enough experience or even enough of my interest peaked related to immigration, and this experience is such a wonderful supplement to the courses that I'm taking, and I think I'm really excited to bring that back and have this lens for even when I'm thinking about, it could be torts or property or contracts. All of these things can have an impact on migration. It's just nice to see that in action here, and then also have that comparison with Mexico. I really knew nothing about Mexico's legal system before I got here, but to have that comparison and contrast with especially how Mexico considers human rights and has this basis within the law, this foundation of recognizing human rights that honestly we don't have in the United States. And then my career going forward, I really do want to do direct client work and advocacy. And I think this experience will help me be so much more knowledgeable and empathetic, honestly, to my clients going forward. I think that just having that experience. I'll never truly know the experience of some folks who have immigrated to the United States, but having this knowledge and talking with folks is so important, and I think will make me a better advocate and just a good listening ear for these people. I think we heard today from Father JJ that really some immigrants are very hesitant to trust a lot of folks, but an immigration lawyer plays such a critical role in being kind of that support system and maybe ways that they're not getting anywhere else. So I'm really excited to hopefully be that for my clients, and I think this experience will allow me to do that.
You mentioned that you hadn't really had your interest peak along migration terms in 1L. What do you think about immigration as a career path after attending the program?
I feel like this experience has just solidified that I really want to work in immigration law in the United States. I was interested in it before. I had done some work with refugee resettlement in Indianapolis and of course loved that experience, but having this additional lens and thinking about another country that I did not have prior experience to, it's only made me more passionate and excited to continue work. So there's a lot of work to be done, and even more so than I even realized before coming here. There's just so many layers of things that need to be changed and advocated for. So really excited. If I can do just a little bit of that, that would be great.
And for students, Megan, who are looking at programs to enrich themselves or even just to learn new things, we're looking at this multitude of programs that are available across the US and the world, but we're looking at this one. Mm-hmm. What would you tell them, or why would you convince them to come and attend the Rising Center's summer program or winter program for law students?
Absolutely. I would say definitely apply and do it. I feel like I've learned, not to say anything bad about my current program, but I definitely feel like I've learned so much in just a short period of time, and a lot of things that I would not have learned otherwise, right? So this program is great in that we get access to folks that really not a lot of people get to talk to. We've talked with government officials, international organizations, civil society, even just folks who've been impacted by this on the ground, right? Like Nicole and her family, people that I would have never met otherwise. I think this program does a great job of bringing such a diverse experience in such a short period of time. Even my fellow students, I've learned so much from them, both from an international background, learning about their cultures too, just added this extra layer. And then the Rising Center staff as well have been wonderful and just added this tremendous cultural aspect. There's wonderful food, things we get to see in the city. Guadalajara is just beautiful, amazing, and so much fun too. I hope that that part is not left out because the program is of course very educational, but I've had a wonderful time here too. So you get that mixture. It's something that you won't get to learn just from like sitting in a lecture or reading a book, even hearing these speakers and maybe more of an online format, just bringing all of this together in such a concentrated time. It's really special and wonderful. And I'm so happy that I did it. So I would hope that anyone who's even slightly interested applies and hopefully attends.
And part of attending the program, right, if I'm not mistaken, was it the Hispanic Bar Association of Austin that provided funding for you to attend the program?
No, actually the University of Texas did.
Okay, well my apologies, but if you were to tell the University of Texas, for example, you got a scholarship or funding about continuing to fund this program or access to this program, what would you tell the folk who make those decisions?
I would say continue to do so. I think this adds such a rich layer of the education that I've experienced, and especially for Texas, the University of Texas system in general, or Texas schools. I think that the histories of Texas and Mexico are so intertwined, right? I think that there's just this wonderful opportunity to be able to cross that border in a way in which is not always presented to students. I think that if the universities can continue to do so, and I'm really excited to also bring it back. I'm hoping that this isn't just something that I got to go do and then I'm not able to give back, because I think that what I've learned here, I just want everyone to know. I can see that this would have a really great impact on my fellow students. Like I've mentioned before, being able to bring these perspectives back and talk about them in class and talk with other people within my community in Austin or within Texas, the United States in general. Really excited to continue these conversations. I think it's very valuable.
Megan, it's been a pleasure to have you, and wish you safe travels, and we hope it won't be the last time you come to the beautiful city of Guadalajara.
Thank you so much.